That was one of my first major red flags. Miller's confessing this to Sports Illustrated. Discussing it proved therapeutic. The nightmares and migraines started to fade and then ceased altogether as the writing process unfolded. And their Sports Illustrated at that point is writing about Larry Miller and his oldest daughter are writing a book about his life, and this murder is part of the book. And so at this point, I'm like, well, they're writing a book because they're trying to get a movie deal, and this is going to be some kind of updated gangster version of The Pursuit of Happiness. Anybody ever see the movie Will Smith did, The Pursuit of Happiness? It's a great book about some Northern California executive that basically raised his son all by himself and went through all these different obstacles in raising his son and trying to start a career, and eventually became a millionaire. The Pursuit of Happiness is one of the best books I've ever read. It's one of the best movies I ever saw. And I'm reading this Sports Illustrated thing and hearing Larry Miller's writing a book with his daughter. I'm like, oh, they're hyping a movie. And this is going to be the hip hop gangster version of Pursuit of Happiness. This is going to be the Godfather meets The Pursuit of Happiness, I guess. But here was the key sentence, the next sentence. I'm going to reread the whole thing in context. Discussing it proved therapeutic. The nightmares and migraines started to fade and then ceased altogether as the writing process unfolded. He says he is planning to reach out to White's family as well. And I'm like, this man is confessing a murder to Sports Illustrated. They're writing about it as if this is some great act of humanity or humanitarian act, that he's righting his wrongs from the past. And then I see this sentence go, he hasn't talked to Edward White's family. He's writing a book, he's doing Sports Illustrated interviews, he's putting all this out there, and at no time has he given any thought to Edward White's family. They buried an 18-year-old for no reason 56 years ago. And so it just seemed like the first step in any cathartic process would be, let me make amends to the people that I hurt. Larry Miller has gone on to become a wildly successful executive, surely the guy, chairman of Jordan Brand. That probably means he's worth a minimum of $25 million, probably worth $50 million. Who knows? You're the chairman of Jordan Brand at Nike. You got to be worth a ton of money. So he kills Edward White, goes to prison, gets educated at Temple University while in prison, gets out, and they tell a story about how he interviewed for one job and was honest with the person about his criminal past, and they didn't give him a job. And then from then on, he concealed it, never told anybody. Adam Silver, Michael Jordan, Phil Knight, who runs Nike, none of these people know anything about his criminal past, according to this retelling in Sports Illustrated. And when he decides to confess, no mention of it to Edward White's family. They can read it in Sports Illustrated just like everybody else. That was one of my first major red flags. There were many red flags in this story, particularly the way they unpacked and alluded to his jail sentence. But come to find out, Larry Miller did 4.5 years for killing Edward White. He got out of prison, or juvenile, and guess what? This is not mentioned in the Sports Illustrated story, but it is mentioned in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus Larry Miller. Larry Miller kidnapped someone and was convicted of kidnapping. That violated his parole. He went back to prison, I believe in 1976. And that's why he spent from age 16 to age 30 basically incarcerated. He kidnapped someone This isn't anywhere in the Sports Illustrated story. Nowhere to be found. This is an alleged, used to be, major media outlet. They can't even find out why the guy was in prison for so long. They just took his word for it based off of what they were able to glean from a 90-minute interview. When you're sitting in front of someone, anyone, with a criminal history or no criminal history, they'll tell you their side of the story. As a journalist, you go check it out and find additional details. In journalism, they say, if your mother says she loves you, get a second opinion.